Welcome, everyone. Hello, it is the Safer Social Media Show. And today, our question is: do social media platforms limit our self expression? We'll be back in a bit to talk about this, so don't go away. Stay right where you are. And if you think someone else find this interesting, then do let them know. So sit tight. We're back in a bit. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Safer Social Media Show. Here on the Safer Social Media Show, let me turn down my volume for a second because I'm also got my mobile phone going next to me. Apologies, but hello. Welcome. So, on the Safer Social Media Show, we talk about how we as individuals can gain the ability to take a more critical look at what we see online and how we can become more selective about how we use that information and how that leads to freedom of disinformation. And today, our conversation is about whether or not social media platforms limit our self expression. So, my name is Bridget T. Limbanda, if you've not met me before, and my co host is Alison Diamond. Alison, welcome to the show.
Why, thank you.
I love our conversation for today. So, today we're talking about, do social media platforms shape how we respond?
I like that word, shape.
Yeah, I think that that's descriptive of what they do. They
Hmm.
they they shape our responses.
Hmm.
But before we dive into our conversation, I would like to share a good news story. You know, we always talk about how bad social media can get at times, and sometimes it gets really bad.
Hmm.
But I believe we should also share good news stories sometimes. And while I was preparing, setting up for the show, I came across a story that totally warmed my heart. It was on Twitter because we had a Twitter chat earlier. So I saw this while we were on Twitter, and the story is about a single mum um, who posted, and she's only been on Twitter for a year, and she says she doesn't use Twitter very often. So she's kind of green to social media, and she says data costs a lot of money, so she doesn't go on Twitter that often even.
Hmm.
But she found herself in a really awkward situation. She ran out of electricity. She
Hmm.
had no electricity, and she felt too ashamed to go and ask her neighbors. Single mom with two kids at school. And what she did was she put onto her Twitter status a photograph of her electricity meter showing that there's 0 units. She's got no electricity. And she said, could anybody possibly help her with electricity for 10 South African rands, which is less than $1. Okay. So that was her request. And it turns out that she was flooded with people reaching out and buying her electricity
Hmm.
and sending her money. I mean, how heartwarming is that? She says 3 days later, people were still buying electricity for her to the point where she said, stop, I have got enough now. And people, were pouring out to her to the extent that she could pay, I think the article said, her school fees that were behind for a year for one of her kids.
Wow. That's
And
wonderful.
it just warmed my heart. And I thought, wow, if there was a good news story, this is it.
Definitely. I love it.
Oh my goodness. So getting back to our conversation for today. So if you're
Mhm.
joining us, please do join the conversation. Tell us your thought, ask us your questions. Again, we're talking about whether or not social media shapes our responses. What are your opening thoughts on that?
For me, I would definitely say yes. I'm a sociologist, so of course, I'm always interested in how our environment shapes our behavior. And social media architecture is no different than the built environment. The features that we see and that we interact with have influence over what we do. So, take the like button. It seems like this innocent button, but there's no dislike button, right? There's a like button.
No.
Uh, yeah, so that's our choice. Now we do have reactions now. They added reactions because people did say the like was not enough. But if you look at the reactions that we have, we're all kind of saying the same thing when we use those buttons, right? We're kind of shaped into this, one way of reacting to something. If it doesn't really fit, there's really no other choice. If you don't want to actually make a comment, you do have to choose what's available. So, yeah, we do kind of lose our own voice when we resort to using what's presented to us by the platform. I think it's meaningful. It may not seem to be a major issue, but when you think of millions of people using the same like button, think of all the nuance you lose.
Yeah, I must say, sometimes you kind of feel like you're in a bit of a pushed into a corner to choose one of those reactions,
Hmm.
so that the person knows you've seen it. Sometimes you're in a rush and you kind of think, which one do I choose now? None of these actually fit the emotion,
Hmm.
or my acknowledgement, um, you know. And I think we spoke about that briefly yesterday. So I see on Twitter, for example, people will because there's so many nuances that could go with a like button. I see people on Twitter will say that, look, it's like does not mean I agree with you, or like is not a acknowledgement or anything. I'm just liking something to you as a way of curating my content.
Yeah, yeah. And people use like for so many different reasons that of course that like button can't adjust to. So Brigetti might post something that I know nothing about. It's going on in Cape Town, not Johannesburg. You live in Cape Town. But she might post something that's going on there and I don't really know what she's talking about, but I want to acknowledge that I'm seeing it. I find it interesting, so I might hit the like. But maybe if I really knew what the conversation was about, I wouldn't really click like. Maybe I don't agree with her view, but I am reading what she's saying and I'm, appreciating that she's talking about something. So, we were kind of going back and forth on what would be better than a like button.
So when you talk about, I was thinking about this right now. Um, I may interpret the reason why I'm using the like button in a certain way, but other people, either the person who posted it or other people that have access to that post, may impute a different meaning to me liking it other than
Hmm.
my intended response. So
Right.
that to me is a bit of a dilemma, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And, politics, that's a big issue, right? So, what if I've been encouraging people to vote? And several people say, I went and voted today, but I didn't vote for the candidate that I'm for. Do I press like? And when I say like, if they're saying I voted for blah blah blah, I'm so glad I went out and voted. Thanks for reminding me, Allison. I'm like, I'm glad you voted, but if I press like, am I liking that you said you voted for this candidate, or am I liking that you can't really use like in all situations?
And I also feel that, by forcing these kind of reactions or acknowledgements on us, we are by default doing that to people in our social circle of influence.
Hmm.
Because, I've been pushed into a corner to respond in a certain way, and I've chosen that emoticon for whatever reason. But now Johnny comes along and Johnny says, this is a little bit awkward. But Brigetti liked it and Alison liked it, so I guess I'll tick like too,
Hmm.
you know. So you
Right.
have that kind of chain reaction going on as well.
Yeah, yeah. And some people interpret likes differently. The more likes I get, the more popular I am. I don't care why you like me. I just want to collect those likes. And that is, something that leads to likes being abused.
But also, I think the other aspect of it is the fact that that taps into the algorithms. And
Hmm.
so people will ask you to like something because it'll rank their post, it'll rank their video or whatever it is
Yes.
they posted,
Yeah.
based on the amount of likes that they have. So it
Hmm.
shows this popularity. It's like, the popularity is determined by how many likes or hearts you can get,
Yeah.
and that is completely devoid of emotion
Yeah.
that
There's
was
really no
that
meaning.
may have been. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the awkward thing about that is how many people have sent you a request, please like my page? Well, once you like somebody's page, you kind of get auto drafted into, the messages that they're sending out and questions that they're asking, and you kind of feel obligated to show support in some way because that person's your friend. And yet, you don't care about the product or the service or whatever it is that they're doing that you might not even like it. So the like button, to me, is just not appropriate for all these different reasons. So I just, yeah, like button is a problem. It's the only option we have, and yet it doesn't fit our needs.
Are there any of the other buttons that you struggle with? I mean, I think it's clear as daylight that, um, I would say, apart from everything else, the like button, in the absence of a dislike button, um, is not a great option.
Now you had a comment today in our Twitter chat. You said, "How about just a noted button?"
Yeah, I would like to see that because, noted is kind of, I acknowledge that I saw your comment.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
it's like when you're SMSing somebody, and there's a it's like it would act like a read receipt. Like,
exactly. Hmm.
you know, I've seen it, but I'm not ready to respond. Can I get back to you on that
Right.
when I have time to respond more intelligently, or I've had
Hmm.
time to ponder over my response?
Exactly. You're
Um,
not endorsing it.
that's a good word. You're not endorsing it.
Yeah, and that whole fake news and disinformation issue is also wrapped up in that like button because if you like somebody's post because they're your friend and they've posted disinformation, guess what? You are now seen as endorsing that misinformation. So if you're endorsing fake health products and inaccurate medical advice and safety warnings and all that, it's not a good thing. Everybody can see that you clicked like on it and it's seen as support. So that's another thing about like that we can't control. We press like for one reason, it's interpreted differently by entirely different audience.
Yeah, no, no, I totally agree with you that, that endorsement thing is quite hectic. So I want to
Hmm.
just reach out to our audience. Let us know where in the world you joining us from. Tell us where which country you're watching from, and if you have any thoughts on the topic that we're talking about today, let us know if you've got any questions you want us to address in this regard. Tell us in the comments. We can see your comments live. We'd like to get your input.
Why not?
So again, we're talking
Try to
about
keep up.
do social media platforms limit our self-expression is our topic. Now, the other buttons that we've got there is the heart button, and
Mhm.
we spoke about that earlier as well.
Yes.
What would you use? What do you use it for? I'll tell you what I use it for. What do you use it for?
Okay, the heart button is kind of, it's sort of like the like button. It's a little difficult, a challenge. I might use the heart button to show sympathy or empathy. I might use it to show that I love what somebody posted or I love what they
Mm,
did. Um, Sometimes it's to say like, oh, like maybe there's a little, maybe somebody posted something their child did or said something really cute or a little baby or something. mean love is really watered down in this case. We all know what love really is. So you don't really love the things that you're using the heart for, but you want to show something more than like. What about you?
I think for me it's pretty much the same. It's something that I um how do I define that? That I strongly like, or that that I am ecstatic about. I want to show extreme happiness about it. Either about the event,
Hmm.
um, or announcement, or the person, or something great that they did, or
Hmm.
someone did exceptionally well in something, or as you
Hmm.
said, they show a cute fur baby, or a real
Yeah.
baby. So, but
Yeah.
then the whole thing with these buttons, um, also, and I want to say hello to Victor. Victor says, "What makes you optimistic?" Um, is that related to our
Topic.
topic? Let let me know. I don't want to respond inappropriately to what you said, Victor. So if you're asking that in relation to our topic, then we can give you an answer, or we'll answer it a bit later. So just let us know, so we're not off the mark in our response to you. So the other thing with regards to how we respond and how our responses are shaped,
Hmm.
um, is also problematic when not just as a means of responding to the immediate post, but when it gets shared
Right.
and reinterpreted. Now, the original post may be in your timeline, for example, with people you generally would know about at least. But once that's shared outside of that circle, you have no idea of who it's shared with and how that may be interpreted by
Hmm.
people who really don't know you from a bar of soap.
Right. Yeah. And you know what,
And
Bridgetti, just going along with that, and I think you even mentioned this the other day, we were talking about how people will share content they did not create. And sometimes that stuff is fraudulent because once they have farmed enough likes, they will change that page. So now you've endorsed something that you don't even know you're associated with. And so that's another danger of liking and hearting something that, was created by somebody you don't know. So sorry to jump in there, but that reminded me of, other audiences seeing your association with content.
it's a slippery slope, and a very dangerous one, because someone may not have encountered you on social media before, and now they meet you for the first time. And what you generally do when you didn't know someone, but you think, I'd like to explore the possibility of connecting with this person, so you're going to check them out on social media. And so if you see that this person liked something that you know is not factual or is fake news, it may dissuade you from connecting with the person.
Hmm.
Um, and you really have no way of knowing what was behind it.
Yeah.
And
True.
so I think I want to reiterate what we've been talking about before, and that is we want to move away from this culture or conditioning of hitting the like and share button with impunity without giving it a second thought.
Hmm. Yeah, and maybe to replace that, we could get back to actually using words. It's so easy to just click something. I mean, imagine a conversation with somebody in real life. There's no equivalent to the like. I mean, would you just go like that to somebody if you like what they're saying? No, we say something, but we don't do that online.
I
So
know it's I think it's just conditioning by the social media platforms.
yeah, yeah.
Has it made us lazy to communicate?
I think it's actually allowed us to communicate where we really wouldn't have. I mean, if I'm standing on the street and with a friend of mine, and then maybe somebody comes along and they get into an argument, I'm gonna I'm gonna support my friend, but in real life, am I gonna jump in there and get myself involved and possibly targeted? No, but online I could click like on everything my friend says to show support, and not really think twice. That's my friend. I'm gonna click like. It's so easy. But in real life, you would think twice about your response and what the situation is like, and what you really want to contribute to that. Like in real life, I would walk away. I would take my friend and we'd leave. But it's a totally different world online.
Do you think, that's an interesting thing. Do you think people disassociate on some level with who they really are in real life and the online life? Is it, do people, has social media contributed to us creating two personas of ourselves?
Yeah,
An online me and an offline me.
yeah, I would say that. I would say that to some extent. There are definitely things I do online because it exists online. I mean, and it is different. I belong to some Facebook groups. There are meetups in real life that I don't go to, and I could, but I'll join a meetup, so to speak, online and kind of poke around and meet some people and talk, um, or whatever you want to call it. But it's not on video. It's all text and emoticons and emoji and all that. Um, why aren't I going to a live group that meets at the same time in my neighborhood? It's
Mm,
strange what I'm willing to do online that I won't do in my real life.
yeah. I don't know what all the answers are, but I would like to venture into saying that we need more education around this, more empowerment for people who use social media,
More
um,
awareness.
you
Yeah.
more awareness,
Hmm.
other than allowing ourselves to be so conditioned by the platforms.
Hmm.
Um, because what makes the platforms is actually us. If we were not there interacting, the platforms would be useless.
That's
So
true. Yeah,
why
they
are we
need
not
to stick
turning it on
around.
its head? Why are we not saying what we want? Um, why are we allowing them to mold us, to mold our responses and
Yeah,
how we
yeah,
interact?
yeah. I would advocate maybe bypassing it. Try it for a week. Bypass those buttons and say what you want to say instead of clicking like. Say, I really like that. Whatever your opinion is, and make a comment about it. Start a conversation. That's something that I think is really, really lacking now in social media. We share content and we just leave it there. We don't even comment on the content ourselves, you know. Or we might say, "Oh, this is a really pretty picture," and not that there's anything wrong with that, but what if you posted a picture and actually said what it did to you? When I look at this, it reminds me of blah blah blah, and tell a little story. That is what gets conversations going. But right now, it's like you post a picture and the responses are, "Oh, I love it. It's so pretty. Ha ha." And that's it. That's not how we really talk.
It's not real interaction. It's almost like fake interaction,
Yeah, it's
just for
social
the
media
sake of it.
interaction. It's that digital life.
Yeah. Now, I'd really like to see a change. And
Hmm.
again, I'm going to say it's one of the reasons I like live streaming, because you're talking. It's more like a conversation
Yeah.
that you're having in real life. It's
Hmm.
or it's the closest you're ever going to get to a real life conversation, as opposed to me hiding or thinking that I'm hiding behind a picture of sorts, and
Yeah.
being more flippant about, or how I respond to
Hmm.
things online. Whereas if you're looking someone in the eye, you are less likely to be rude to that person or be dismissive um, of that person. You're going to be nicer about how you interact.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, we were
so
laughing earlier about newscasters who do the news and they've got their nice ties or their nice blouses on top, and they're wearing pajama pants and thong slippers or something on the bottom. You can't see it, and we were laughing at that. But when you think about it, when we're on social media, when it's not video, you might be laying in bed, you might be waiting for the bus, you might be, in your, ratty pajamas. Nobody can see that, and it does make a difference in how you interact online because you're not really there. Would you be dressed like that talking to people in real life? If you were, it would be people that you knew, people that you were close to, but it wouldn't be these strangers. You wouldn't go to a meetup looking like that. And I think all of that contributes to the way that we interact online. It does create that digital interaction, that real virtual real, that imitation of real. It's, I don't know, it's surreal. I guess it's a strange world that we've created online.
I'd say so. I think a good question to end on is, how do you show up online?
I
You
like that.
know,
Hmm.
how do you show up online as your authentic self, or do you show up online under the guise of a pseudonym, a different version of you?
Hmm.
How authentic are you online? Are you who you are, or are you who you say you are online? Or are your posts, are your comments, are they modeled by what the platform wants, or are they modeled by what you think other people want to hear?
Hmm.
Um, let us know in the comments. Help shape our next conversation. Tell us in the comments what you think.
All right. Well, it was really nice having this conversation, and it doesn't end because everything we talk about is related to social media and how we can improve it, make it safer, make it more enjoyable, and just improve the quality of social media interaction. So, yeah, the conversation will continue.
We'll be back.
Back next
So
week.
thanks, everyone. Back next week. Thanks for joining us, everyone. As usual, we always have a great time online and hope to see you next time. Thanks for watching. And from me, Brigetti in Cape Town, it's goodbye for now.
And from Allison in Las Vegas, Nevada, adios.